Hi everyone, welcome to the Green Dream Project. Jim here.
I'm Jessica.
And today we want to talk about why we chose to go with a trailer versus a tiny house. And it seems like fairly recently there's been a big surge in the tiny house movement. It seems like tiny houses are huge nowadays. A lot of people are getting into them. A lot of people are building them.
And we know some people who have.
And we were actually considering doing that for a little bit, right? I think you were kind of pushing that idea a little bit when we were first deciding on how we wanted to live before we actually built a permanent structure, right? So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, tiny houses are cool, right?
Tiny houses are cool.
I liked how they looked, and, I thought they're cute kind of things. So I was kind of looking into how feasible it would be for us to do that. Maybe, if we could build something on our own, if that would save us some money. I was looking into a lot of different options as far as maybe doing a tiny house on wheels.
And I think there were advantages and disadvantages to both. I think one of the a couple of the reasons why we ended up going with a trailer versus a tiny house is, one, I think it would have been tough to come in cheaper with the construction of a tiny house than it would be to have just pick up a trailer. Obviously, trailers can be as expensive as you want them to be, but you can also find awesome deals on like Craigslist or whatnot. It seems like there's always people trying to get rid of these things.
Yeah, especially where we live.
Exactly. So one, price was a consideration for us. Two, sometimes with the building of tiny houses, the weight of those things can get pretty heavy. Obviously, if you keep that in mind during the construction of a tiny house, that might not be as big of an issue, but these things are designed to be hauled. So it's not going to be as difficult to either haul it ourselves, or in our case, we're probably going to need to find someone to move this thing for us. But I think that's another positive point about getting a trailer. I think one of the disadvantages of a trailer is that the space it's kind of conventionally designed. I think one of the advantages of tiny house building is you get to kind of design that space yourself. You get to be a little bit more creative with how that space works. Maybe design furniture that fits in better with that environment. So that's definitely one of the advantages of tiny house building. With a trailer, that space you get is, you can modify it, sure. But, obviously it's whatever somebody else crafted for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think another advantage of tiny house building is it gives you a lot of building experience. That's an invaluable thing, especially if you're looking to build your own home in the future. You can start small, get an idea of how to craft an actual little building. So that's another advantage of tiny house building.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of being able to build things ourselves, but in our case, we didn't really have the time. We were both working full-time jobs at that time, actually over 40 hours a week, and we were looking to make it a transition. So I think the trailer worked out better for us, something that was already constructed.
So that's two big considerations into why we ended up going with the trailer. Cost, obviously, make that 3. Cost, obviously weight, and time. You need time to build a tiny house, and yeah, with both working full-time jobs, that probably would have taken a while. Also space. You need space to build a tiny house. And where we were living in that subdivision in Coolidge, there's no way we could have, any place we could have put that to have worked on it. Yeah, I think another advantage to tiny house building versus these trailers, especially living out here in the desert, is, of course with the tiny house, you can construct them the way you want to construct them. You might be able to insulate it a little better. I think the insulation, with these trailers is none. It's like you're just basically putting a metal box out there on the desert. So these things are going to be as hot or as cold as it is outside. And I can just only imagine in the summer heat with this thing, it'll probably be like inside of a tiny oven.
Yeah. Well, it's probably worse than outside because you don't have that airflow.
Yep. If we haven't touched on the cost of, the trailer versus the tiny house. I mean, tiny houses, like I said, the cost can vary. I mean, you could try and make it cheap, but I think even just the buying of a utility trailer to put it on, already right there adds some to the cost. Plus then the construction materials. It would probably be pretty hard to come underneath the cost of what you can pick up one of these things for, am I right?
Yeah, a used trailer for sure.
A used trailer for sure. This one was pretty nice. It's even got a slide out, which gives us a little bit more room. It's something we were looking for because we were going to have 3 people and a large dog inside there, so that was a really nice find. And we picked it up for about $5,000. It was ready to go, ready to be lived in, which was perfect for us because we were coming down. It was right in the nick of time before we needed to get out of the house, right?
Yeah. And I think, if it was just the 2 of us, or if someone was looking to find a mobile type home for themselves, like they could just pick up a cab over camper. Those are really cheap used ones, and there's a lot of different options out there.
Yeah, definitely. You need to find what works best in your situation. How much space you're going to need, how much time and money you can put into that. I mean, for sure, if you have the time and money, a tiny house is going to be probably a much more comfortable living situation. But, if you want something cheap, quick, and dirty, hopefully not too dirty, a trailer is a very financially positive way to go. Might save you a little time and money. I know one thing, it's a pretty nice day out. There's actually not a ton of wind today, which has been a big change. So it's been nice to get outside and do these videos versus being on the couch inside the trailer. Get a little bit more nature in here. And I know in our last video, I've talked a little bit about how we're waiting for deliveries before we can get started on some projects out here, but that is not the case. I lied. There's plenty of stuff to do, and I gotta get started. So stay tuned in those for those future videos because I am gonna start preparing the land for us to move out there.
Should be exciting.
Should be. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
And please follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.